If you would have told me 10 years ago that I would be homeschooling my kids, traveling full time, and taking a mini retirement in my 40s, I would have laughed in your face. There is no way I would have thought I'd do any of those things. But here I am. I'll share how my life turned upside down in the best way possible and what led me to take this leap of faith. For the longest time, we lived a suburban lifestyle. You know, the house, the cars, kids going to school, before that daycare. Nate had his technology job, and I don't know exactly when he switched over to working remotely, but I do remember him driving to and from work. And then I was in the real estate field, so I was a workaholic, worked all the time, had a lot of clients, and I also coached realtors across the country for a while. So we did have a typical life, as you would think. The types of vacations we would take would fall on spring break, fall break, sometimes winter break. Obviously, we spent Christmas with the family in the snow. Okay, we haven't done that in a few years, but and then certainly a week or two in the summer. So that's how we lived, and we didn't think anything else was possible. We didn't dream of anything else. And basically, day in and day out, work, school, and vacation and fun every once in a while. So I mentioned this in the very first video, but there were actually two events that completely changed my outlook on life. Number one was the passing of my mother. So it's been a little over a decade now, and unfortunately, she was the most important person in my life. Okay, let's just leave it at that. She was very important to the whole family. I really looked up to her. She was my role model. And unfortunately for me and everyone in my family, she died at a relatively young age. She was 58 years old, and I cannot believe I'm saying that because I'm almost 50. Okay. So, she passed away, and I was never the same after that. Okay. I was never the same. When I was younger, I had this grand vision of growing old along with my mom and dad and having them participate in my life. I didn't realize when I was young that, I would have kids. I mean, I thought I might, but it wasn't the number one goal in my life. But I thought if I did have kids, that they would be an active part of their lives, and they were, and she was. And the kids really miss her, even though the twins don't remember that much because they were very young. I think they were about like 4.5 years old when she passed away. But you know what? I just thought about her life and the sacrifice that she made for her family. And I'm very, very appreciative that she did, because obviously the great life that I live right now, it was in large part to the decisions that she and my father made together for their family. So, I was never quite the same. I never looked at life quite the same after she passed away. And I didn't want something like that to happen to me, where I would just work, which I was doing at that time. I was working a lot. Okay. And I mean a lot. And, one day the kids would just be grown up, and I wouldn't see them. I missed one too many activities. So, that made me take a step back and just look at life differently. Okay. So that was number one factor. And number two, so when the big C happened, basically we were not living in Omaha, Nebraska anymore, which is where both myself and my husband grew up. We actually met in 7th grade. We were living in Austin, Texas area. And, I guess I do have one of my cousins from California living there. But outside of that, we went there for a job opportunity that my husband wanted to try out. So he tried going by himself at first, didn't work out, missed the family too much. So then I joined, my kids joined, and I thought it might be a temporary thing, but we ended up just kind of moving there for a little bit. And then when the big C happened, like everyone else, we took a step back, social distance for about a year. And really, we lived like hermits. I mean, we went to the grocery store with our masks on. Very hard time. Luckily, we had each other. We had the kids had us, and, we just made do and just did the best we could with social distancing for about a year. So after we social distanced for a year, our RV that I had bought a couple years before that was already sitting in the yard. So we were staring at it every day, and, we watched some inspirational videos on YouTube. Got really, really tired of just being in the house all the time. So we decided, hey, you know what? Let's take this opportunity. The kids are already doing school at home. They're used to the format. And let's just travel in our RV for a few months. And then when we're done, we'll just go ahead and settle back down. So you know what? I know there's a lot of YouTube videos out there and other families saying we sold everything and we started traveling. We did not do that. Okay. I'm conservative. Nate's conservative. He did not think I would last in that RV. I mean, if you can imagine, we were living in a very big house with everyone having their own space. And then all of a sudden cramming ourselves into 36 linear feet. Okay, that's how long the RV is. And, it was tough, but it wasn't like super duper duper bad because the kids were kind of like smaller at that point. So even though there was a lot of us, the kids were just kind of like smaller in size. So, we made do. And we traveled the country for a while. And the 3 to 4 months that we had originally thought we would be like done with the trip by then, it ended up lasting way longer than that. And then the 3 to 4 months has now come and gone. And basically we schedule every 6 months at a time. Okay. Because within 6 months, we determine if this is a lifestyle that still is good with our family. Obviously, Nate and I are very concerned about the children doing well, being well, having fun, mentally being good with the travels, and we reevaluate. Okay. And Nate and I have talked extensively about this. The moment we feel like this isn't working for somebody, the moment we feel like it's actually hurting the family instead of helping the family grow and experience new things, basically we'll settle down. Okay, quickly. Okay, if that happens. And so far, everyone's really enjoying the travels. I mean, we get to go here, there, and everywhere and learn about like local customs and local towns. And we've been all over the United States. Okay, and it's just been fantastic. Even within the same country, there's so many differences. Okay, and we've had a lot of fun with that. So the second thing that I never ever thought I would do is to homeschool. Okay, so when we first started traveling, the kids were already doing the public online school program. That's just because like everyone was doing that at that moment. And after the school year finished, basically I just kind of reevaluated everything. While we were traveling in the RV and they were doing their school time, basically I realized that they started school at different times of the morning, and sometimes I would look over at them because they're doing something else. Okay, I don't know what they were doing at that moment. I mean, we're talking like 3.5 years ago, but I felt like, okay, what are you doing? It's school time. Why are you wasting time? And basically the kids would say, well, I'm waiting for my next class. Well, when's your next class? Well, today it's not until an hour and a half from now. So then that child would have to wait an hour and a half for that next class to start. Now, bless those teachers, okay, having to go from regular school teachings and all of a sudden having to like transfer over to an online platform to deal with all the schools being closed. I'm sure they did the best job possible. But you know what? I have 3 children, and I have 3 children during random parts of the day doing other things than school because their next class wasn't until 45 minutes from then. So with the program that they're taking, they can take one class and get credits for both their high school program as well as getting the general elective or general classes out of the way that they would take in college, for example. So by the time we are done with their high school, they should have probably maybe 2.5 to 3 years worth of college classes out of the way. And that's going to be great for us because I don't want them to graduate college with a lot of student loan debt. Yes, I have saved from when they were very, very young for college because back then I used to think, the traditional mindset of go to college for 4 to 6 years, take out student loans or get scholarships. And now there's just so many more options that are available to everybody, okay, especially parents, homeschool parents like myself. And the last thing I never thought I would do is take a mini retirement. And you know what? I don't know what the future holds, okay, because now that I'm about 50 years old, basically, I now live my life on my own terms. I'm not going to follow what the typical life plan was supposed to be as a Gen Xer, okay? Remember when we were young? Basically, we were told to finish high school, go to a 4-year university. If you can, go to a graduate program. For the most part, I follow the rule. It has worked well. Okay, I'm not going to complain about my life. I have a very good life. My husband has a very good life. So do our kids. But now that I'm 50 years old, I'm not interested in learning about rules on how to be happier, learning about this, learning about that. Okay, basically, I've done the things that I needed to do. And at this point and going forward, I'm going to follow my own rules. Okay, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to do what I think is going to be best for me, best for my family, best for my kids. And right now that is homeschooling. Who knows what will change? Okay, I'm not saying everything is set in stone. All I'm saying is now that I'm 50 years old, I'm not interested in living by society's rules anymore. And what are society's rules anyways? Okay, the whole world is upside down right now. I mean, you look at like every country in the world. Okay, there's crazy, crazy things going on. Okay, but that's another day. But yeah, I never thought I would be taking a mini retirement starting in my 40s, and now I'm heading into my 50s. Had COVID never happened, I would not be doing this. I'd probably be working professionally like I always have, maybe not to the degree that I was before, like a workaholic. I probably would have scaled that down some, but mini retirement has been really good for me. It's been good for my family. Nate and the kids would beg me, okay, to be home more. But you know what? When I was in my 30s, when I was in my early 40s, okay, the only thing that was on my mind, especially since the 2008 crisis, okay, remember then when everyone lost their houses and the banks went belly up? Basically, since then, my number one goal was to make sure I had a roof over the kids' heads, that Nate didn't have to take on all of the burdens of making money and feeding the family and making sure that we had food in our belly. Okay, I didn't want him to take on that responsibility like by himself, okay, because his entire department was shutting down. Okay, he was in the tech service sector, and he got noticed that they were shutting the entire department down with that 2008 crash. So I didn't want him to ever feel the burden of feeding 3 kids and his wife by himself. So I decided at that point that even as a mom, and moms and women, okay, we definitely struggle with guilt. Okay, and it doesn't matter, okay? It's always guilt. Guilt that you're not making money. Guilt that you're not home enough with your children. Guilt that you're not there for your friends. Guilt that you're not there for your, parents. Okay, the guilt is always there. But I wanted to make sure at that point that we didn't lose the house we were living in, that the kids didn't have to feel the instability of not having food, and, okay, which is another story, because my son said that to me last year one time. But anyways, so yeah, just mini retirement is good. And I had a lot of burnout back when I was working like a workaholic, but I have recovered fully from that. And now the kids are asking me if I'm ever going to go back to work. Hey, where's the day when they were begging me to spend more time with them? Okay, what is that saying? Okay, be careful what you wish for, because it might come true. They all ask me to be home more often, and now I'm glued to them 24/7. Yay. Okay, they got what they wanted. So mini retirement has been really good for me. I don't know if this is going to be like this forever. I still do have some real estate assets that I manage along with my longtime business partner. But now my new creative outlet is this. It's YouTubing, okay? And I'm enjoying the YouTubing way more than I thought I ever would, okay? In another video, I'll talk about like how this whole YouTube channel started and where it came from. And Well, my kids are doing it too, but that's a whole nother story. But that's what I want to cover today. I know I've made the first, 4 or 5 videos on places we've been and the excursions we've had and why we started traveling in the first place. But I wanted to do a personal vlog so that I can give you a little bit of background on the things that I never thought I would do, and here I am. So one thing that I have learned is that it's never too late to make a bold change. And sometimes without even knowing it, it could change your life for the better. It certainly changed my life. So what's something you never thought you would never do, but then ended up loving? Leave it in the comments. Bye.